Is Big Boy Control the best control? Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm going to be doing a deck tech video, budget deck tech video, for Count Dooku Exploit Control, or as I like to call it, Big Boy Control. The second that Count Dooku got previewed, I'm like, okay, this is going to be probably, most likely, and it still is, my favorite hero leader in the entire set. And I just love Count Dooku, I love Exploit, I love the idea of this. So let's get into things. Starting off with Count Dooku himself. As an action, you can exhaust him, play a Separatist card from your hand, and it gains Exploit 1. Not an insane thing, but I mean, still kind of an insane thing. Resource cheating is nothing to scoff at. So there you go. And then once you have 7 resources, which actually is pretty easy to get to in this deck. I mean, it wants to drag things out, but it also has a lot of, well, not a lot, but a good amount of ways to ramp, so you can get into Dooku fairly easily, like ahead of time is what I mean. But once you have 7 resources, Dooku flips into a 5/9, but thanks to Power City, a 26 health base, he's actually a 5/10 with Overwhelm, and whenever he attacks, the next Separatist card that you play this turn gets Exploit 3, which is a lot bigger than Exploit 1. This doesn't matter for a ton of the cards in the deck, but when you get it off, it usually tends to do a lot. Plus, this is just a big fat beater, so that's nothing to scoff at either. But getting into the main deck, basically all the early game is play a ton of things that either ramp you or deal with the opponent's things, and then make tokens, make tokens, make tokens, and make tokens. Anyways, Wartime Trade Official is up first for main deck cards. It's a 2-cost 1/3 that whenever it's defeated, you create a Battle Droid token. Simple, easy, and pretty solid. Then there's Confederate Courier, a space unit that's pretty much the same thing. It's a 2-resource 2/1. When defeated, create a Battle Droid token. They're both good cards. Then there's Patrolling V-Wing, a 2-cost space unit that's a 1/1, and whenever you play it, you draw a card. Which, this card doesn't seem great, but it's actually really solid. You play it, gives you a body to exploit, and it replaces itself in your hand, which is actually something pretty noteworthy because, believe it or not, this deck can run out of cards in your hand really quickly, depending on what you draw, but still, this card's good is what I'm trying to say. Then there's Poggle the Lesser, a 2-cost 1/3 ground unit that whenever you play another unit, you can exhaust Poggle and create a Battle Droid token. It's basically acting as another Wartime Official / Confederate Courier, but slightly better in the sense that when you play a thing, you get tokens, and you can make multiple tokens over the course of the game. But if this thing only makes 1 or 2 tokens, that's fine before exploiting this and maybe those tokens away. It's still going to do a lot of work, even in that sense. But then there is Droid Deployment, potentially the best card in the entire deck, a 2-cost event that just makes 2 Battle Droid tokens. It doesn't seem insane, but this card is the only reason that you can play either the 9-drops in the deck on turn 2. In Happy Christmas Land, if you pull 2 of these, and you have Count Dooku's ability behind him for one of the cards, then yeah, you can play either of those 9-drops on turn 2. But even then, this deck is actually really good at playing either of those cards on turn 3 and 4, like actually really easily, especially on turn 4. But then there is Battle Droid Escort, a 3-cost 1/1 that whenever it's played or defeated, it creates you a Battle Droid token. It's a body that makes a body, and it makes another body when it dies. It's a slightly worse Battle Droid deployment, or slightly worse droid deployment, because it costs 1 more resource, but it gets you more bodies, so it's still very good. It's still a 3-up for that reason. Then there's Super Laser Technician, the first of 2 ramp cards in the deck out of 3 of. It's a 3-cost 2/1 that whenever it's defeated, you put it into play as a resource and ready it. It's another thing that you can exploit away that also ramps you either into Dooku or your big things that you're exploiting into, which is nothing, like, it's good. That's good. And then there's Resupply, which is basically the same thing, except it doesn't come in readied. It's a 3-cost event, put into play as a resource, exhausted. That's it. It's more ramp. It's just more solid, good ramp. But that's most of the early game. I mean, there is some other things, but I'll get into that in a sec. But getting into the next bit, all removal. Pretty much every piece of removal in the deck I'm about to go over. The first one, not the most important, but one of the more important ones being Fell the Dragon out of 2 of. It's a 4-cost event that defeats a non-leader unit with 5 or more power. This isn't insane against aggro decks, which is what the removal of this deck is primarily targeting, but this card is still very good into mid-rangey and control matchups, and especially into the mirror, which Count Dooku I don't think is going to be the most played leader in the game by any means. But I mean, if you have this against another Dooku deck, it actually does a lot. So there's that. Then there is Takedown, a 3-of in the deck, and the most important removal spell in the deck. It's a 4-cost event that just defeats a unit with 5 or less remaining HP. So it can defeat the Asajj Ventresses, the Sabines of the world, just the leaders themselves, boom, gone, donezo. It can get rid of some of their more powerful units. It can get rid of some of the most powerful early game units in the game. Doesn't matter if it's just those specific aggro units for those 2 aggro decks, the 2 most powerful aggro decks in the game, in my opinion. But still, Takedown just does a ton of work, is what I'm trying to say here. It is easily the best way to remove your opponent's stuff in the deck, as far as 4-cost cards go. But then we get into Overwhelming Barrage, a 5-cost event that just gives one of your things a +2/+2 buff until the end of the turn. And then that card gets to deal damage divided as you choose among enemy units, equal to its power. So it's not insane if you look at all the early game units in the game, or in the deck. But if you look at a lot of the later game stuff, yeah, this card is gonna act as a board wipe a lot of the time. Normally you're exploiting and playing a big thing, or a big-ish thing on turn 4, sometimes 3 in this deck. Or sorry, turn 2, sometimes 3, or turn 3, sometimes 2 in this deck. And then you play Overwhelming Barrage on turn 4, yeah, and then you just wipe your opponent's board out. Not all of it, sometimes it does wind up being all of it, but a lot of it. So yeah, Overwhelming Barrage, good card. Then there's Rival's Fall, another 2-of in the deck. It's a 6-cost event that just defeats a unit. It's really good because it can get rid of really powerful and terrifying leaders. You can get rid of any unit in the game, no restrictions, but it is a 6-cost event, and while this deck does like getting into the later parts of the game and having something like this is very good, you're primarily wanting to play your big fat beaters and endgame finishers in those portions of the game, so this is only a 2-of for that reason. Then there's Droideca's Security, one of the better cards, one of the better exploit cards, maybe the best exploit card in the deck, for the reason that it is a 6-cost 4/5 with exploit 2, and more importantly, Sentinel. This just clogs up the ground arena. It can actually do it very easily, and it can do it on turn 2 very, very consistently. If you play Poggle Lesser, Droid Deployment, either of those on turn 1, and you play something like a Battle Droid Escort on turn 2, or any other unit in the deck, that's great, because then, boom, you got 3 bodies, you give the Droideca Security an extra exploit 1 with the Count Dooku frontside ability, and then boom, you play it. Or you play either of the 2-cost, any of the 2-cost cards in the deck, units in the deck that aren't Droid Deployment or Poggle, and you play a Battle Droid Escort on turn 2, and then boom, you can do the same thing with Droideca Security. What I'm trying to say here is that it's incredibly easy to play this on turn 2, and it pretty much guaranteed able to play it on turn 3. So yeah, this card is very solid and is a very easy way to clog up the ground arena, super quick. But then there's Multi-Troop Escort, a 7-cost ground unit that's a 3/6 with exploit 2, and then whenever it attacks, you create a Battle Droid token. This isn't great into the aggro matchups, but into the more mid-rangey and control matchups, this card just puts out so many bodies, it's not even funny. And if your opponent gets rid of this, that just gives you more breathing room with some of your bigger stuff to close out the game quicker, or just get more value out of them in general. So no matter what this card, no matter what in those mid-rangey to control matchups, this card's just always going to be doing work. Then there's Count Dooku. A 1-of, and the only, well actually sorry, not the only 1-of in the deck, but one of the few 1-ofs in the deck, for the reason that it doesn't have exploit. While Count Dooku is a separatist card, you would think that it's from Twilight of the Republic, but it's actually from Sparky Rebellion, which if you didn't know, exploit didn't exist yet. And Count Dooku doesn't have exploit, which makes him a lot worse. Sure, you can play him for 1 resource because this is another 7-cost card. You can play him for 1 resource by sacking 3 of your units with Count Dooku's backside ability to give your next Separatist card plus or exploit 3 on attack. But still, this card is really solid, but you're not gonna be playing it for super cheap very often, which is why it's only a one-off. But it's still very good, because it's a 7-cost 5/4 shielded. Okay body, I guess. But more importantly, when you play it, you can defeat any unit with 4 or less remaining HP, which is a slightly worse takedown, but you play it, you get the effect, and it's a body that is shielded, so you can attack one of your opponent's things, deal a lot of damage to it, or kill it, and then the shield falls off, and you can do even more stuff with Dooku. Maybe kill one of your opponent's other things, or deal a lot of damage to one of your opponent's other things, or just beat the opponent's face down. Doesn't matter. It's a good card. Not an amazing card, which is why it's only one of, but still, very good card. Then there's Providence Destroyer. I added 2 of in the deck. It's an 8-cost space unit. It's just one of the more important space units in the deck because while there are 6 very, very easy cards, the 3 patrolling V-Wings and the 3 Confederate Couriers that are both space units that you can get down very early, you don't have a ton of really good space unit threats until later on, like way later on down the line. And Providence Destroyer is one of the better ones because, one, it's a space unit, it's a big fat space unit, but it also can remove other opposing space units. So this is an 8-cost 5/7 exploit 2, or exploit 3 if you use Count Dooku's front side, or exploit 5 if you use Count Dooku's backside ability. And it says, on attack, you can give an enemy space unit -2/-2 for the face, either shrinking something down or just outright killing it, which is very good. And the point of why this card is in the deck is, while it's not the most insane card ever, it is still a really solid space unit to keep the opponent's space arena in check. But then, the 2 9-cost cards in the deck, getting to the really later portions of the game to a point, I got Separatist Super Tank, a 9-cost 8/8 with exploit 3. If you use Count Dooku's frontside ability, that's exploit 4, and then boom, 2 droid deployments, Happy Christmas Land, boom, you get this out on turn 2, getting rid of all 4 of those things, spending a resource, and boom, you got an 8/8. This card is just nuts, even if you don't play it on turn 2, because again, you can still play it fairly consistently on turn 3 and 4, and whenever you play this, it's gonna do work. It's a big thing that's going to control the ground arena. It can attack into your opponent's things and just kill a ton of stuff. It can attack your opponent's face and put them on a whole, massive amount of pressure. No matter what, this card is going to do work in the ground arena. This is the top end, what you're wanting to get to, to control the ground arena. But, on the other side of things, you want something to really control the space arena, which Providence Destroyer does really well, but there's one card that does it even better. Malevolence, a 9-cost 7/7 with exploit 4, so you don't even have to use Count Dooku's front side or backside ability to give it even more exploit value, whatever, which is important sometimes. But Malevolence also, besides being a 7/7 that you can play really early, depending on how many of your droid creators you get, it also has Restore 2, and when you play it, you give one of your enemy units -4 power, and it cannot attack for this phase. So it's gonna defend for less, and it can't attack. So if you're playing against something like a Saj, that's just backbreaking. If you're playing against something like Sabine, that's just backbreaking. If you're playing against a deck that later on in the game wants to close out with one of their big units or one of their more powerful units, boom, you shut it down, can't attack, and then Malevolence. It's a good card. It's a really good card. It's a little bit smaller than this Separatist Super Tank, sure, but this has Restore 2, which is arguably way worth this having 1 less power and health than the Super Laser Super Tank. Plus, this is a space unit, so there's that too. But then, lastly, the Invasion of Anyways, it's a 15-cost event. This is only a one-off, but it's a 15-cost event, which you may be thinking, you're never playing this. But it has exploit 4, exploit 5 if you're using Count Dooku's front side, and exploit 7 if you're using Count Dooku's backside, because this is a Separatist card. Might I add, this is a Separatist card. But, this card says choose a player, choose an opponent, defeat each unit that player controls. So it's a board wipe. While Overwhelming Barrage is, generally speaking, going to wipe out most of, if not all, the opponent's board, this card is going to do it no matter what. I mean, it's just really good. It's just really freaking good. But if you're not playing, like, you're usually going to be getting this out on turn, like, 6 or 7. Or, no, you can get it out on turn 5 sometimes. You can get it out, if you ramp into Dooku, you can get this out on turn 5, turn 6, but you also have to have a ton of the units out. Basically, this card, if you really, really need it, it's there. But beyond that, it is only a one-of, so if it's not going to do anything for you, you can resource it, so you don't need to worry about it. But that's the deck. While this deck doesn't look insane in the early game by just making a ton of things, it has a lot of removal, it can do a lot of things, and it can get into those big fat beaters that can control the arena, either side of the arena, really freaking quickly. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, it's completely free, your own credits, and have a great rest of your day playing Big Boy Control, everybody.